Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first video. I'm going to teach you how to make a spirit doll. You can see how I've tied these with some simple straw. I tied them in the back so as to give a back and a front. Here's a larger one that I created, although I'm not very happy with the way it came out. So I think this guy needs to be shorter. For my next project, I want to do one that's in between the very small one and this larger one here. We're going to need some embroidery floss, whichever color you prefer. I cut them into lengths about, this large. Not very good with math. Of course, you're going to need some very sharp scissors. And of course, some straw. Like I said, I want to make these about in between. I collected this straw from around my garden, and I use it to create these real simple spirit dolls, which you can use in spells, different poppets. Now I have selected some straw here for the smaller one. I want to make sure that they're all nice and even. Now tying these can be a bit of a challenge, so trial and error. I tend to hold it with one hand and wrap it around about 3 times and then pull it tightly and then awkwardly tie it into a knot. You can cut the top of the straw off, but I like to leave the little stems to create a crown effect, but you can add some dried flowers too. You can also include some paper petitions while you're creating this poppet. Here's how I awkwardly tie this. You want to start off with a piece of string that's a little longer, and then we snip the ends here. There we go. Now I got this idea from Japanese kushimi dolls. I hope I'm not murdering the pronunciation. They're used in esoteric Buddhism and Shinto Buddhism. So this is an esoteric type things. The research I have found is a ritual called impaling the sin, where we create these dolls out of straw and attach some of your own clothing, and then they are nailed to a sacred tree located in a shrine, a sacred area. I'm a little superstitious about nailing this doll to a tree, but I use them in the way that you would use a poppet. I refer to these as fairy poppets. I created them for llamas this year. I didn't have any corn husks, so I made do with what I had lying around. Off. In the first two, you're really creating the head of the poppet. Make sure you tie all of these in the back. And that's where the stems of the pine straw make the little crown. So that is the head part there. Next comes the creating of the arms. Okay. And you can gauge these, how thick that you want them. I start off by binding the one end. Oops. I bind the first end here, wrap it 3 times, pull it very tight. Off camera, I'm using my teeth to pull these tighter. I really like using poppets in spell work, and I like to create them with easily found procured materials. You can size them up. And here you can start to gauge how long you want the body to be and the leg lengths. I'm gonna stop mine where the pine straw starts to thin so I can get a good tie on the leg part of the poppet. Awkwardly binding off the other side. And while I create these poppets during this process, I like to consider my intention with how I'm going to use the spirit doll or the poppet. And if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you already practice magic and witchcraft, so you know how to use poppets and ritual and intention. All right. I'm going to snip off these ends. Creating the hands, leaving a little bit at the end. And this is a good point where if you have some paper petitions, you can fold them so they fit inside the body nicely. And we're going to split the body here and insert the arms. These are very similar to the corn dolly that is used in Celtic and fairy Wicca. I'm using some green thread to bring prosperity and health and growth into my life, into my spell work. I will probably use this poppet for autumn equinox, if not for Samhain. Now this particular style, you're going to tie the body off underneath the arms, and the traditional corn dolly type of poppet, this is the only point in the doll that you make the tie the knot, the thread around. This one you're going to tie 2 so as to make the waist underneath the arms and the extra one for the lower body. Using my teeth to help tie this off. And knot all of these at the back of the doll so we have a nice front and back. Snip those. And the arms are tied off twice to create the elbow in this particular doll. The details in the knotting and tying of this particular Japanese style I like, and it's also very tedious, which helps with the intention. Shouldn't be too easy. A little bit of work to make your spell successful. A challenge. Here I'm tying off the elbows of the arms. Again, awkward. This is my first video on YouTube, so please be kind to me in the comments if you have any suggestions or things you would like to say. They're constructive. Constructive comments. Constructive criticism. There's that second tie off right there. I created. I filmed this video really late at night. Where I do most of my artwork, as well as witchcraft. I find the night really soothing. When I discovered these dolls, I was shocked to find out that there was an esoteric component to Buddhism. I should have known this, but I never really thought about it. Me being in the West, I'm fascinated with Shinto. It is very similar to pagan culture throughout humanity. So I find similarities. I'm trying to pull the legs apart there, trying to gauge where I want to tie it off. Separate those. This pine straw can be very rigid, so you want to move it around. Here's the second binding I was talking about, where the legs start into the body. It's hard to hold the tension. But if you wrap this thread in just the right way, it kind of holds the other side, if that makes sense, and helps it cinch real easy. Create some tension. I originally made these with wool yarn, and that seemed to work because it had a grab. But the embroidery floss is nice and smooth and looks really nice with the pine straw. It has a great tension to it as well. I work with embroidery floss quite a bit, and crafting as well as spell crafting. Comes in any color of the rainbow, any intention, and it's inexpensive as well, which I like. Things that are easily found and inexpensive, if not free, doing things like this. And the legs are also tied off in two separate places to represent the knee area as well as the ankle. When you trim the excess off, it creates the foot. snip. Hopefully I will learn to edit my videos better in the future. I'm not necessarily good with technology. I find it to be a little frustrating at times, so I'm learning. This channel, I expect to do artwork as well as spirit craft, all of it in the direction of a Wicca type slant to it. The older I get, the more I return to Wicca. I've practiced it for many years. I didn't practice any religion for a long time, but as an artist, I'm a romantic and I have to be inspired. Wicca, very Wicca. It's where my heart is spiritually. Keep moving the scissors around like a mad person. Nervous filming this video. This part I find a little tedious as well. But these dolls can be made in any size. I push the limits making the larger one. Use some leaves that I find on my walk. Collect pine straw from my garden. Also include dried flowers. Things that I find to make these little poppets. I love doing petition type magic and including the petitions in these little spirit dolls and using them. Just makes it a little more, stronger. All right. Our last knot. Sometimes I wrap these 3 times, sometimes 4. Just whatever works. Snip, and one last part, move it around a little bit, and decide where you want the feet to be and snip those accordingly. This pine straw is easily cut with some nice sharp scissors. All right, finishing it up, some extra little finishing touches. I'm a perfectionist. And there we are. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Blessed be.